Think about Oregon for a moment. Beautiful, right? Ancient, towering trees, valleys shrouded in mist. But what if all that breathtaking beauty hides something darker, something unsettling? In Oregon's vast wilderness, the line between a scenic hike and an inexplicable disappearance can be terrifyingly thin. What if the very path you walk today was the last place someone else was ever seen? When you hear Oregon, you probably picture those lush green forests, rugged mountains, and that adventurous spirit. It's a state that pulls in people looking for adventure, for peace, or just to connect with the wild. But beneath that stunning surface, there's a more disturbing story unfolding. For decades, these sprawling woodlands have been the last known location for an alarming number of people. Individuals step into the trees, often confident, sometimes experienced hikers, and they're just gone, vanished, leaving behind heartbroken families and a trail of baffling questions. We're not just talking about a few isolated incidents here. We're talking about a haunting pattern that's become a dark part of the state's modern lore. So, why do people keep vanishing in Oregon's forests? And what makes these cases so incredibly difficult to solve? Tonight, we're looking into this Oregon forest mystery, exploring the chilling statistics, the disturbing patterns, and the desperate search for answers that continues to echo through these silent woods. So, just how big is this problem? You might think of missing persons cases as mostly a city thing, but in Oregon, the story often leads straight into the wilderness. Right now, the state officially lists around 527 individuals as missing. That works out to roughly 5 or 6 people for every 100,000 residents. Now, to put that in perspective, a lot of people go missing across the country. The National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, or NAMUS, says it's over 600,000 each year in the U.S. The good news? Thankfully, most of those cases get resolved, and usually pretty quickly. For example, in 2021, out of more than 521,000 reported missing person cases, over 485,000 were resolved within that same year. There's also been a positive shift. The number of missing person cases has actually been on a steady decline since 1997, down by about 40% over the last 2 decades, partly thanks to better communication and tracking tech. However, some states definitely carry a heavier load. Alaska, with its own immense and challenging wilderness, has by far the highest rate, a staggering 163.76 missing persons per 100,000 people. On the other end of the scale, Massachusetts has the lowest rate, at 2.32 per 100,000. Oregon's rate, while not the absolute highest, is still a serious cause for concern, especially when you consider that many of these disappearances happen in its vast, remote forested regions. The Oregon State Police work hard, maintaining a missing children adults clearinghouse, which is a key resource for tracking cases and coordinating information. Yet, even with these dedicated efforts, many individuals who vanish into Oregon's wilderness become cold cases. Their fates remain unknown, their stories unfinished. It's this stubborn persistence of unsolved cases, particularly those rooted in the forests, that keeps fueling this ongoing mystery. You can't really talk about these mysteries without talking about the forests themselves. They're more than just a backdrop. They are a huge, silent character in this story. Oregon has an incredible amount of forest land. We're talking over 30 million acres combined in national forests and lands managed by the BLM. And these aren't just nice little patches of trees. They're complex, sprawling ecosystems. Think towering Douglas firs, incredibly dense undergrowth, rugged volcanic terrain, and remote valleys that feel almost untouched by time. The beauty is undeniable, and it draws millions of people for hiking, camping, and just being outdoors. But that same vastness and ruggedness can turn perilous in a heartbeat. The weather in these regions can be notoriously unpredictable. One moment it might be sunny skies, and the next you could be caught in disorienting fog, torrential rain, or even a sudden snowstorm, sometimes completely out of season. These sudden shifts can wipe out tracks, make it impossible to see, and bring on life-threatening hypothermia with terrifying speed. The terrain itself is a massive challenge. Steep ravines, hidden cliffs, and a confusing network of game trails can easily disorient even the most seasoned hikers. And cell service? It's often completely non-existent in these remote areas, cutting off that vital lifeline to help when you need it most. Many people who've searched these woods talk about how disorienting they are. The undergrowth can be so thick that you can barely see a few feet in front of you, and landmarks can all start to look the same, making it frighteningly easy to lose your bearings. It's a landscape that demands deep respect, a place where one wrong turn or a single moment of distraction can have profound, life-altering consequences. The very features that make Oregon's forests a sanctuary for wildlife and a haven for humans can also make them an incredibly unforgiving place for anyone who finds themselves lost or in distress. One of the most haunting patterns we see in Oregon's forest disappearances is just how suddenly people can vanish, often leaving behind minimal, if any, trace. The case of 8-year-old Derrick Engebretson is a heartbreaking example that has perplexed investigators for more than 2 decades. It was December 5, 1998. Young Derrick was in the Winema National Forest near Rocky Point, Oregon, not far from the stunning Crater Lake National Park. He was with his father and his grandfather, out on a classic Oregon adventure, looking for a Christmas tree. According to reports, Derrick, probably eager and a bit adventurous like any kid, was allowed to walk a short distance ahead of them. He was following his father's footprints in the snow, up a slight incline, and for just a moment, he went out of their sight. He was never seen again. The alarm was raised quickly, around 4:13 p.m., when his father and grandfather realized he was missing. Initially, there were some poignant, if promising signs. Footprints and a snow angel, believed to be Derrick's, were found near the road. But any hope these small traces offered was cruelly and swiftly snuffed out. That very evening, a blizzard swept through the area, a common occurrence in Oregon's high country winters. The heavy snowfall completely obliterated any further tracks, severely hampering the immediate search efforts. Despite extensive searches in the weeks and months that followed, involving law enforcement and countless volunteers, no definitive sign of Derrick was ever found. Search dogs were brought in, but they reportedly failed to pick up a strong, clear scent trail in many areas. Investigators did discover a crude shelter made of fir boughs, but there was no indication that Derrick had ever been there. His parents described him as a child who was familiar with the outdoors, used to hiking in mountainous terrain, which made his complete disappearance even more baffling. Over the years, various theories and a few scant leads have emerged. There were reports of a mysterious vehicle seen in the area on the day Derrick vanished. In 2008, a convicted child rapist, Frank James Milligan, was named as a person of interest. At one point, he reportedly even confessed, but he later recanted and failed to lead authorities to any remains. Now, in 2025, 26 long years later, Derrick Engebretson is still missing. His case highlights that chilling pattern: a momentary separation, a sudden lack of evidence, and a wilderness that offers no answers, only an enduring, painful silence. The question just hangs there. How can a child, doing something so familiar with his family, simply evaporate into the forest, leaving so little behind? Another disturbing pattern in these forest disappearances involves how evidence, or sometimes the lack of it, turns up in ways that only deepen the mystery instead of solving it. The case of Michael Bryson, who vanished in August 2020, is a more recent example that continues to frustrate his family and investigators. Michael was 27, a passionate musician. He was attending a week-long birthday party and camping trip at Hobo Campground near Dorena in the Umpqua National Forest. On August 5, 2020, at approximately 4:30 in the morning, he reportedly wandered away from the rave-like party, which had about 40 to 60 people there. He was never seen again. The initial circumstances were concerning from the get-go. Michael's camping gear was still at the site, and his phone? It had apparently been powered off for several days before he disappeared. That detail alone raised questions. Was the phone turned off intentionally, or had it run out of battery long before he went missing? His parents weren't even alerted to his disappearance until nearly 12 hours after he was last seen. When they arrived at the campsite, they described an unsettling atmosphere, saying that other partygoers didn't seem to be actively searching for Michael. Extensive searches were launched by the Lane County Sheriff's Office Search and Rescue. They had teams on land and water, used drones, and hundreds of volunteers search for 19 straight days. The terrain was challenging, steep, with dense overgrowth. Yet no trace of Michael was found. The stories from those at the party were reportedly inconsistent. Some said he walked away from the camp. Others suggested he might have been picked up on the road. His parents have always expressed their conviction that he wouldn't have just wandered off nonchalantly, even if he was upset. Then, in December 2020, months after he vanished, a significant but perplexing discovery was made. Following a tip, some of Michael's clothing items he was last seen wearing were found in the woods. Crucially, this discovery was made in an area that had reportedly been searched multiple times before. The items were found in a visible location near a road, leading Michael's father to believe they might have been planted there. This kind of discovery items appearing in previously searched zones is a recurring theme in some mysterious wilderness disappearances. It adds a layer of suspicion and fuels theories that something more than just getting lost is at play, possibly human intervention. The Lane County Sheriff's Office has kept the investigation active. They've stated they remain open to the possibility of criminal action, but lacked definitive evidence pointing in any specific direction. Michael's parents continue to search, driven by the belief that their son did not just disappear into thin air. His case really highlights the agonizing nature of these delayed and ambiguous clues, the frustration of conflicting accounts, and the haunting possibility that the forest isn't just passively holding its secrets, but that human actions might be actively obscuring the truth. While many of Oregon's forest disappearances remain ambiguous, where misadventure is a plausible explanation, some cases carry the undeniable, chilling signature of foul play. The tragic case of the Cowden family, though it happened decades ago, serves as a grim reminder that the wilderness can also be a place where human predators operate, using the isolation to their advantage. It was Labor Day weekend, 1974. Richard Cowden, 28, his wife Belinda, 22, their 5-year-old son David, and 5-month-old daughter Melissa, who lived in White City, Oregon, went on a camping trip. They chose a spot they knew well, near Carberry Creek in the Siskiyou Mountains, near a place called Copper, Oregon. On September 1st, Richard and David were seen at the local Copper General Store buying milk. This was the last confirmed sighting of any member of the Cowden family alive. They were expected at Belinda's mother's house for dinner that evening, but never arrived. The next day, worried, the grandmother went to their campsite. What she found was an unsettling scene. Their truck was there, keys in the ignition, wallets, and the recently purchased milk still inside. All their belongings seemed to be present, except the family themselves, including their basset hound, Droopy. What followed was one of the largest search efforts in Oregon's history at the time, involving local law enforcement, volunteers, and even the National Guard. Yet, for 7 agonizing months, there was no trace of the Cowdens. A breakthrough, when it finally came, was horrific. In April 1975, 2 gold prospectors stumbled upon human remains in a remote, rugged area approximately 7 miles from the family's campsite. The scene they discovered was brutal and confirmed everyone's worst fears. Richard Cowden's body was found tied to a tree. He had been shot. Nearby, in a shallow cave, lay the remains of Belinda, David, and baby Melissa. Belinda and David had also been bound and shot. Little Melissa appeared to have died from severe head trauma. The investigation into their murders was incredibly challenging, hampered by the remote location and the amount of time that had passed. Suspicion eventually fell upon a man named Dwayne Lee Little. He had been paroled from prison just months before the Cowdens disappeared and was known to have been in the area over that Labor Day weekend. Little had a history of violent crime, including the murder of a teenage girl years earlier. While he remains a strong suspect, and law enforcement has indicated as much, the Cowden family murders officially remain unsolved. The Cowden case is a stark illustration that not all who vanish in the wilderness are merely lost. It underscores the vulnerability of individuals and families in isolated settings and adds a layer of palpable fear to the Oregon forest mystery. It forces us to consider that among the unseen dangers of terrain and weather, there may also be human threats lurking in the deep woods. So what's it actually like trying to solve these disappearances in Oregon's vast wilderness? Well, it's a monumental task, packed with challenges that can stop even the most dedicated efforts cold. The sheer scale of the search areas is often the first massive hurdle. Imagine trying to systematically cover hundreds, sometimes thousands, of square miles of dense forest, rugged mountains, and hidden canyons. It's a logistical nightmare. Resources, including people and equipment, are always limited, even with the incredible help of volunteer search and rescue teams, who are true heroes. As we've touched on, Oregon's unpredictable weather plays a huge role, not just in endangering the missing person, but also in making the search incredibly complicated. Rain can wash away tracks, snow can cover crucial evidence, and fog can ground air support like helicopters and planes. These conditions also pose risks to the searchers themselves. The very nature of the terrain, steep, unstable, and often choked with thick undergrowth, means that search teams can pass within mere feet of a missing person without ever seeing them. Experts in lost person behavior often point out how difficult it can be to spot someone in dense woods. A momentary glance in the wrong direction can mean a missed opportunity. The evidence, or more often the lack of it, is another common challenge. In so many of these forest disappearances, physical clues are astonishingly scarce. Search dogs might fail to pick up a scent, or the scent trail might end abruptly and inexplicably. Personal belongings might be found, but often, like with Michael Bryson's clothing, they end up raising more questions than they answer. Jurisdictional complexities can also pop up, especially when disappearances occur in areas bordering different counties or within federal lands, like national forests or parks. This requires careful coordination between multiple agencies, local sheriff's departments, the Oregon State Police, U.S. Forest Service, and National Park Rangers. The Oregon State Police play a vital part through their Missing Children Adults Clearinghouse, which acts as a central hub for information and helps coordinate efforts across the state. They work to get information out, provide technical and logistical backup, and maintain a public database of missing individuals. Law enforcement agencies also tap into national databases like the National Crime Information Center and NAMUS. Despite all these systems and the tireless work of investigators and search teams, the ambiguous circumstances surrounding many cases make them incredibly difficult to resolve. Was it an accident? Was it foul play? Was it a voluntary disappearance? Without definitive evidence, investigators are often left staring into a frustrating void, and families are left in an agonizing limbo. The forest, in its silent immensity, often provides the perfect conditions for a mystery to simply endure. When answers are scarce, you can bet that theories will rush in to fill the void. The disappearances in Oregon's forests have sparked a whole spectrum of explanations, ranging from the tragically common to the more speculative and deeply unsettling. The most straightforward, and often the most likely, explanation for many vanishing acts is simple misadventure. People can, and do, just get lost. This is especially true if they're unprepared, if they wander off marked trails, or if they get caught out by rapidly changing weather. An injury, like a fall, could easily incapacitate someone, leading to exposure or preventing them from seeking help. The vast and disorienting nature of Oregon's forests makes it incredibly easy to become turned around, and without navigation tools or experience, a simple hike can quickly morph into a desperate situation. Drowning is also a factor, especially in areas with swift rivers or hidden bodies of water. For instance, since April 1, 2025, 8 bodies were recovered from rivers in Multnomah County alone. A tragic number, though officials said it wasn't unusual for that time of year. Criminal activity, as we saw in the horrifying Cowden family case, is another stark possibility. The isolation of wilderness areas can, unfortunately, be exploited by those with malicious intent. Abductions, though statistically less common in these specific scenarios compared to, say, family abductions, can't be completely ruled out. This is especially true when the circumstances are particularly strange, or when a person vanishes from a campsite or a group with no logical explanation. Michael Bryson's parents, for example, leaned strongly towards the belief that foul play was involved in their son's disappearance, given the inconsistencies in stories from others at the party. Voluntary disappearance is also something investigators consider. While it might seem less common for individuals to choose vast wilderness areas as the spot to intentionally vanish, it does happen. People seeking to escape their lives or responsibilities might see the anonymity of the forest as an escape route. However, these cases often leave a different kind of trail, perhaps a financial or social one, that investigators can sometimes follow. Encounters with wildlife are frequently brought up, and yes, Oregon's forests are home to predators like cougars and bears. However, verifiable attacks leading to a complete disappearance with absolutely no remains found are exceptionally rare. Typically, an animal attack would leave behind significant evidence. So while it's not impossible, it is generally considered a less likely primary cause for the majority of these unsolved vanishing cases where no trace is ever found. Then you get into the more unconventional or speculative theories that arise from the sheer bafflement of some of these cases. You might have heard of the missing 411 phenomenon, a term popularized by author David Paulides. It describes clusters of unusual disappearances in national parks and wilderness areas that seem to share certain unsettling characteristics. People vanishing suddenly, often in areas with challenging terrain, sometimes with their clothing found neatly folded, or search dogs being unable to pick up a scent. These theories sometimes touch on elements like reports of strange lights, unusual sounds, or a profound sense of unease felt by people near the location of a disappearance. Some even venture into notions of cryptids like Bigfoot, unknown predators, or even more esoteric explanations like energy vortexes or dimensional slips, similar to theories surrounding places like the Bennington Triangle in Vermont. While these ideas certainly capture the public imagination and speak to the profound mystery of these cases, they remain firmly in the realm of speculation, without any concrete evidence. Ultimately, each unsolved case is its own unique puzzle. The truth likely lies in a combination of these factors, differing from one disappearance to the next. But the persistence of cases with no clear explanation continues to fuel both dedicated investigation and widespread, often uneasy speculation. The mysteries of Oregon's forests are deep, complex, and frankly, pretty unnerving. The search for answers is far from over. If these stories have captivated or concerned you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more explorations into unsolved mysteries. More importantly, share this video. Spreading awareness can sometimes unearth new leads or simply bring a measure of comfort to families who are still out there searching. And we really want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on these disappearances? Do you know of any local Oregon cases that you feel deserve more attention? Share your insights respectfully in the comments below. Your engagement truly helps keep these important stories alive and in the public consciousness. The Oregon Forest Mystery is so much more than just a collection of unsettling statistics and haunting tales. At its heart, it's a narrative of profound human loss, of families caught in that agonizing state of not knowing. For every single person who vanishes, there's a circle of loved ones left behind. Parents, siblings, children, friends, their lives forever marked by an unanswered question. They search, they hope, they grieve, often in a painful cycle that can last for years, even decades. Michael Bryson's father's words, "He did not just disappear into thin air," resonate so deeply with so many who are still waiting. The Oregon State Police and various county sheriff's offices, along with those incredibly dedicated search and rescue volunteers, continue their work, often against truly incredible odds. They navigate treacherous terrain and sift through the scantest of evidence, driven by the hope of bringing some kind of closure to these lingering cases. But the forests, in all their silent majesty, hold their secrets incredibly tight. Now, it is important to remember that the vast majority of people who venture into Oregon as wilderness return safely, their adventures ending with good memories. But the stories of those who do end serve as a chilling reminder of the inherent risks and the unexplained phenomena that can occur when humans meet the untamed wild. These are not just stories. They are pleas for answers, testaments to human resilience in the face of the unknown, and a somber acknowledgement that some mysteries may simply endure, woven into the very fabric of Oregon's wild heart. The shadows in these forests are long, and for too many, they conceal a truth that remains just out of reach. The trees stand silent, watching, waiting, while families continue their vigil, hoping that one day, the forest will finally give up its secrets.